Writing is about the process. It's about listening and recognizing remnants of your story in the stories of others. When we share our stories with each other, we share the resonance of the human experience. The By Firelight podcast is your invitation to join our circle, a circle of writers, poets, seekers, and storytellers as we capture our living in words. This multifaceted living with joy, grief, love, growth, and loss is shared among us in your legacy, your story. The things you choose to do with your days as they unfold matter here. I'm your host, Betsy Delzer. I'm many things, but in this gathering, I'm a painter, poet, and writer, and I'm honored to be your guide through these episodes. Together, we'll find our muses in the rich and heart-expanding conversations with incredible guests, many who are like minds and all outrageously inspiring hearts. When you press play, you're here in the circle to share this space with us.
Hey friends,
By Firelight.
I have some exciting news. By Firelight has been nominated for Best Local Podcast in Madison Magazine's Best of Madison campaign. If this podcast has sparked something in you, helped you feel seen, or simply kept you company on a walk or commute, I would be so grateful if you'd take a moment to vote. It's quick, super easy, just the month of June, and it'll help cast a little more light onto the stories we're telling here by the fire. You can vote by heading to madisonmagazine.com, or there's a link in the show notes. Thanks for being here. As always, thanks for listening and being a part of our beautiful stories we're telling. Around the turn of the new year, the podcast producer and I sat down and she said, "It's going great. I'm really excited for you and for us. I have one challenge for you. Why don't you get on there and talk by yourself?" It's amazing. I can Marco Polo my best friends and family till the cows come home, as they say where I'm from. But sitting and thinking about doing this, I don't know. I had sort of a block in and of itself. But here I am offering me, myself, and I. And I have just a couple things that we're going to talk about today. And by we, I mean me. But thanks for being here and listening. So first of all, I want to talk about a question that I receive pretty frequently, which is around the writing group that I keep referring to over and over again in these episodes. So if you've been listening and threading the story together, there was an experience that I had at a writing retreat, and I tried to recreate that on the regular. That is sort of just part of our bones and structure. It certainly doesn't need to be yours. But what is important is if you have a vision of creating some community around writing, I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I've learned, okay? I'm a teacher, so alliteration is sort of a thing for me, but I'm going to focus on community, consistency, and creation, okay? So first of all, community. I think to some degree, there's really a sense in which you need to be sort of a curator of the community if you're thinking about putting together a group, okay? So think about the people who you just find you are in flow around or with, people that you connect easily to. Those are the types of people that you would want to invite into this group. You could also completely do like a call out to social media and the World Wide Web, but I have found that personal invitation helps kind of glue and solidify the group that you're creating. Plus, then you can kind of vibe it out. But in that, like the community becomes so much more than just this once a month writing group, right? It is a sisterhood. In my case, these are all women coming together once a month, and we calendar it out at quarters of a time, which is also very public ed of me. Like we have the same day and same time, generally speaking, and even same location, depending seasonally where we are, so that people know that consistency. And that leads me to my second C. That consistency is really key. The things that I have seen in the past where people have spun off and wanted to try to start their own after being in mine, or are trying a group in another city, it's usually that the consistency is what falls off. Not the interest, because there's interest there in connecting, but the consistency is the piece of calendaring it, making sure that it's routine enough that people know that they can lean in and then lean out. I have about 14 people on our text thread, and I would say at any one given time, it's very common for us to have 5 to 8 people there. So not everybody's coming all the time, and some of our members of our group come once a year. Others come every single month. So it's really kind of got this spaciousness, but the most important piece is if you are creating the space, that you have that consistency so that they know what to expect, when to expect it, and they can show up accordingly. The final piece I was talking about is connection. In creating a writing group, you're really trying to create a safe place for people to just be themselves. Now, you might be somebody who is going to create a writing group that's much more of an academic focus than mine. Mine is like a soul focus. It's really about getting together and exploring some prompts. Oftentimes, other people's poetry is where we're starting from. And when we are in that space, then from there, we just kind of allow the words to come, stories in some cases, some are written in narrative, but we create the space right there in the spot to write together so that we can experience the creative process side by side. And the key to being the curator of that is really kind of helping people realize that they're invited into a safe place to share. That is not always the case. It doesn't always feel that way in the circles in which we find ourselves through work, friends, and certainly even family. So it's important that you are very intentional about creating the container that this is a place where we want to come as the unedited version of ourselves and just see what is behind the veil. And in doing so, what people are able to show up and share in a really vulnerable and beautiful way is the parts of us that sometimes are buried beneath layers. You know, there are things that we accumulate in our living and our life stories that make it hard for us to show up with that much vulnerability and openness. But I would encourage you to think about the people that you want to gather together, calendar it, and create a consistent meeting place and space, and then offer that container for connection. Once you get to those things and those places, the rest will flow, right? You can just go on Instagram and look at many of the writers that I've had on this podcast are people that we have used to prompt our own writing. So you might pull Rainier Wild's most recent work, or Victoria Erickson, or Jen Brady, and you pull their poetry and you could share it via phone or you could have it printed out. But then people are able to kind of use lines, even just single words, to springboard where they start from. And if it feels overwhelming, just start with a quick write, something that is fast and a little bit simpler to begin with. I'm excited to come on again some other time and share another part of my journey with this is my own writing. You know, I've loved getting to know the writers that I have been able to interview in the past several months, almost a year in September, I guess. And every single one of them has encouraged me and made me think about my own writing and the next chapter, if you will, of what's coming for me in the flow of my pen. So I'm putting that out there here at the end so that I hold myself accountable. You can hold me accountable too, to coming back and sharing with you how that's going, because that's sort of the focus of my summer fun is going to be the exploration of what's next for me as a writer. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here month after month and episode after episode. It's a real joy to share the space with you. And as always, it's true.
By Firelight is a Lit Path Studios production and is produced by Jamie Gale and Betsy Delzer. Music is by Legito Music and Pond 5. Thank you for being a part of our beautiful collection of stories.